When I went through my experience with depression, it was a little bit unfamiliar because you usually hear about, a very typical experience that most people have where, they're unable to sleep and they're facing insomnia. And for me, it was actually the opposite. I was about depressed for a good 9 months and all I could do is sleep. I was barely functional, barely being able to carry out daily tasks, whether it was even taking a shower. It was just so difficult to get up out of bed, and at the time, of course, I didn't understand what was happening to me, but it was that I was emotionally and mentally exhausted and drained. I think that's something that we all really need to be aware of, is aware of ourselves, and it's very important to understand your capacity as an individual, whether it's in a professional environment, a personal aspect, or any other way. You need to really understand your limit and your capacity to deal with a situation. Sometimes you just need to take a step back and say, you know what, I'm not in a good place to talk about this, or go to work today, or work 5 days a week. Maybe I can only do 3. Or maybe I need to get away from a relationship, or sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends, it could be anything really. But it's really important to be self-aware enough to understand where you can stop. And that's where I feel like when we don't stop, we enter the realms of things like depression, and we start feeling anxious, and we're just unable to perhaps deal with certain things and cope really. I was physically exhausted and just sleepy all the time for a good 9 months. I'd barely wake up, I could hardly eat, and it was just a really, really bad time for 9 months. That was basically it. That was the way I experienced it. The reason I wanted to share my story with everyone is because it's important for people to be aware of what it really is. It's important for people to understand that everyone has their own unique experience with everything in life, and mental health, depression, anxiety, or anything else is no different to that. And just for them to perhaps my opinions or my experience can perhaps help someone else. I at least thought going to therapy, my environment would change, it would help people understand me better. But that's not at all what happened. When I started it, I realized very shortly that it's not at all about the people around you, or even you understanding those people, but it's about you understanding yourself. And that's what it did. It created a lot of self-awareness. And then I came to a point after a year of therapy. Actually, last year, I still go to therapy every now and then if I feel like I need to. It's just a safe space for some emotional support. And some people have great emotional support from their friends and family, and some people don't. Regardless of that, I feel like it's important to go into a space that is created just for you. Speak to someone you don't know, because I think anything that they have to say, you won't feel defensive about. I feel like when family and friends are sometimes trying to help you out or say things to you, you feel very defensive, you feel very attacked, because emotion is involved. They care about you very much, they love you very much, and of course it hurts them to see you in a bad space, and you're not in a good enough space to sometimes create the boundaries that are necessary to have a healthy and productive conversation. I feel like it was very good for me. It was very beneficial for me to go to therapy, and like I said, it just created immense self-awareness, and I started to understand why I was behaving certain ways, whether it had something to do with my past, whether it had something to do with an insecurity of mine, whether it was the other person. And once you start to understand yourself, you start to understand your environment, the people around you. You start to understand their behaviors, And we're all human beings, we all sympathize and empathize on a human level. And whether it's with friends, family, or just someone you know, you're able to share that experience, you're able to empathize and sympathize with them. Me not understanding my capacity and having exhausted myself and exerted myself mentally and emotionally so much to the extent that my emotional and mental health was now affecting my physical being, is what really just happened. Of course, life is full of stresses, big and small, and you know, no human being is free of that. There's always going to be something going on, and that's just a part of life. To deal with those things is very important, but then when to step away is also very important. When to let go is very important. It was just one day, as crazy as it sounds, I just decided to, and it's crazy because sometimes it's out of your control, but I feel like we really underestimate the power of our own mind. And sometimes, you know, when you decide something, you know, why do people say that, you know, surround yourself with positive energy? You know, what's a self-fulfilling prophecy? Why is it that people always say, the wise ones, they always say, let go of things that are upsetting you, let go? It's because the more you feed your mind, whatever it is, whether it's a thought of, you know, for example, why is it that in most cases, the thing you hate the most you end up becoming because you obsess over it so much. You continuously reinforce it into your thought process that you end up regurgitating the very same actions that you're trying to get away from, or the kind of behaviors. And that's why I feel like it is so important to, you know, surround yourself with positivity and good people and good energy. It is very difficult, of course. It's an immensely difficult thing. You do need a lot of emotional support, you know, whether it's therapy, your family, your friends. It is not impossible, is all I'm saying. And the more you sit with yourself, the more you really connect with who you are, understand who you are, the good and the bad. I feel like the more power you have over yourself. There's this really beautiful quote actually by this French writer, and it goes, it's something I try to remember every day and live by. It says, freedom is what you do with what's been done to you.